Today's episode of the Arc Junkies Podcast is brought to you by my good friends at Outlaw Leather. I've got a question for you, Arc Junkies. Can you have too many welding hoods? No, you can't. And if you answered yes, you may not have been in welding long enough. One of the most important tools we have as a welder is our hood. Without our hood, we're useless. Let's face it, stuff happens, and having a backup hood is a necessity. As I was always told in the Marines, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. I've always carried an extra fixed shade welding hood as a backup with a number 10 gold mirror lens. I learned to do this after my first auto dark failed me when I was out on a job site and I got caught in a rainstorm while welding some decking on a building. I was useless the rest of the day as a welder because I couldn't weld. My hood was fried. So I had to punk rods and material for the rest of the crew for the remainder of the day. Luckily for you though, Outlaw Leather has new Pro Liner welding hoods available right now starting at $69.99 with a flip-up and a non-flip-up version as well. Shop outlawleather.com and pick up a spare hood. And while you're there, check out some of their other awesome accessories. And as a listener to the Arc Junkies podcast, you can save 15% on all in-stock handmade leather goods when you use Arc Junkies in the discount box at checkout. That's outlawleather.com. We're also brought to you by CK Worldwide, the standard in TIG welding. The only torches I run at my school are CK because, let's face it, new welders are hard on equipment and accessories, and I want my investment to last. But that's not the only place I run CK torches. I like them so much at work, I use them at the home shop as well. More especially, I use the Flex Lock 360. There's not a spot I can't get to with my Flex Lock 360. Sure, flex heads are nice, but, they have their limitations. But with the Flex Lock 360 and a gas lens, I can hit all the right angles in the most awkward and tightest spots. CK is constantly innovating the TIG game. While others are stuck on the same basic setup and consumables from the 1960s, CK Worldwide is blazing a trail of innovation with their gas saver kits, wedge collets, volcanic cups, and laser tungsten. Trust CK for all your TIG welding needs on both AC and DC current and water-cooled and gas-cooled systems. There's a reason CK is the standard in TIG welding. Find out for yourself today by visiting ckworldwide.com and hitting that Find a Dealer tab to see which CK products are right for you. CK Worldwide, the standard in TIG welding. What's up, Arc Junkies? Today's guest is Jen Phillips, owner of Metal Monkey Designs from Saskatchewan, Canada. Jen is a Canadian Red Seal welder turned metal artist. Prior to getting into metal art, Jen worked in the oil fields of Canada. In this episode, we talk about her passion for welding, sculpting, archery, and hunting. We also discuss some of her many art pieces she's built to include an alien sculpture that will be on display at Joe Rogan's Mothership Comedy Club in Austin, Texas. Let's go ahead and get into it. Fire up your machines, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
Greetings, Earthlings. Thank you for downloading show number 318 of the Arc Junkies Podcast.
You're listening to the Arc Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
Jen, good evening.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How you been?
That's good. I've been doing good. Busy, but good.
Yeah, so you're doing a lot of different art pieces now. I think you just finished up that headdress.
Yeah, headdress. I'm working on the real metal monkey right now. That's been a fun one.
That thing looks sick. So growing up, my favorite animals of all time have always been chimpanzees, orangutans, and especially the silverback gorilla.
There we go. This is right up your alley then.
Yeah, and I think the first piece I ever seen from you was the silverback, the head that you did.
Okay, that's very cool. You've been following me for a while then.
That thing is, well, I think I just followed you probably a couple months ago because I follow a lot of other metal artists and sculptors.
Yeah.
And I think you popped up in the For You, Instagram's doing the whole For You type thing.
Oh,
and I seen the
okay,
monkey and I was
cool.
like, oh, let me check this out. And then I saw all the other stuff you were doing. And that like I said, that headdress turned out freaking sick.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the gorilla was it's cool. I still have that one in my house. I decided to keep that one because, nice to have at least one of your own pieces. But
right.
To see that one and then now to look at 2 years later, I'm doing this chimp and just to see kind of how my art has changed and skill set has grown. It's kind of cool to compare. So
yeah. Now, have you always been an artist?
Yeah, I get asked that frequently, but no. So I started as a welder. I've welded for about 13 years now. I started at 16 and I worked oil field construction for 8 years until I made the switch to art. So I guess it's always been inside me. I just didn't have an outlet,
Okay.
let it shine. But
Where'd you go to school at?
yeah, so I grew up in Alberta and I did my whole apprenticeship up there. And yeah, Red Deer College is where I did my third year. And we actually moved to Saskatchewan just 2 years ago. So,
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about Max before the show. I think he taught at Sass Poly.
oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, is that Max Strone?
Yeah, with the CWB.
Okay. Yeah, I did a podcast with him last year, I think. So,
Yeah,
small
Matt, he's a
world.
super cool dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Have you got involved with the CWB since you did the podcast? Since you're a red steel welder out of Canada, and now you're doing artwork and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it and then my stuff got a little crazy and it's hard to find time for everything, especially having a family over here and doing all the hobbies and whatnot. So I haven't really gotten into that too much, but maybe down the road, maybe one
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say you're pretty busy. You're doing the artwork and stuff like that. I know you do a lot of archery, you do shooting, hunting, conservation, all that cool stuff.
Yeah, I got a lot going on, but it's all good. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
So when did you get into archery?
So I grew up in a hunting family, so I guess I've always been around it, but none of them were bow hunters. So I got my first bow last winter, and you shoot, so you know how addicting it is. But since I took that first shot, it's like golf, you're just addicted to getting better and perfecting your shot. So I guess about a year and a half now, I've been shooting my bow and absolutely loving it.
What kind of bow do you got?
Have you heard of APA archery?
No, so I was looking because they're based out of Canada, right?
They are. So their main shop is in Bigger, Saskatchewan, which is just an hour south of here. But yeah, they have like a really slick bow. I think they're trying to break into the US market, which is tough. But yeah, so I shoot their Black Mamba Pro, and yeah, it's a really cool bow. They have all the engineering and stuff. It's just kind of like I said, breaking into that market. But yeah, I just got this bow 3 months ago, I think. I haven't hunted with it yet, but I've done a lot of shooting. So
Okay. Yeah, I started off with, I had a Ben Pearson initially, which is like old school, like way back in the 80s. My uncle would give it to me. It was my first compound because I shot like a recurve for a while.
okay,
And then
cool.
I stepped up and got a bear. And bear's still around, and I shot one of those for a long time. And then these were all like hand-me-down bows. And then I think it was like right when I got out of the military, I bought it's a Martin Cheetah, and they don't even make this bow anymore. I don't even think Martin Archery is still around because I can't find
Yeah, I was
anybody that
gonna
sells them.
say.
But it's a fantastic bow, and like I've thought about stepping up to a PSE or a Matthews or something like that, and I just this thing shoots so well, I can't see ever getting rid of it. I've had it restrung several times. I've been at the archery store and I was like, maybe it's time to upgrade. But like I've shot a Robin Hood, so I shot one arrow inside of another arrow at 40 yards. And
Wow,
this
that's
thing is
good.
super accurate. I remember when I first got it home, I was just going through the basics. It was the first time I was actually shooting with a release because I used to shoot freehand all the time. And so now I had this release on and I'm going through it, and the Knox, I think I bought 2 dozen arrows. They're the Carbon Fury arrows, which
Yeah.
they're like super awesome, super lightweight. But so I was shooting those, and the Knox kept splitting, and I was like, "Oh, this is not good." So I went back to Bass Pro, which is where I bought them, and they were doing like a big archery event. It was a big archery weekend or whatever. So they had like live demos and everything set up. And so I went over and talked to one of the guys that was doing the demos, and I said, "Hey, can you recommend a good arrow?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, these Carbon Furies, they're awesome." And I was like, "Those are the ones that I have, and the knocks keep breaking. I don't know if it's due to the impact or like, the weight that I have my draw set at or what the problem is." And I said, "But all the knocks keep breaking." And he goes, "Well, like, shoot a couple arrows down range." And I said, "Okay." So I think I shot like 3 or 5 arrows, and he comes back and he goes, "Yeah, it's not the arrows, man, it's you." And I was like, "What am I doing wrong?" He says, "You're hitting the knocks with the next arrow." It was such a tight grouping. And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, okay, so I guess I'm gonna keep these arrows." So those are the only ones I've ever shot, and like I said, I don't wanna get rid of that bow because it's super accurate.
Yeah, and once you get used, like you're obviously so comfortable with it now and confident in its abilities that it doesn't even make sense to just because everyone else is shooting PSE or whatever. It's yeah,
Yeah, it's like I know it inside and out, and I love it. It shoots really well. I think I've got like a 75-pound draw on it. I wanna go up, but I think it's maxed out at 75.
yeah. But that's, I mean, that's plenty enough. I think
Yeah, 75
like
is good.
great, 100%. Yeah, there's no really need to. So I think it's a good choice. Keep that
Yeah.
bow.
Now do you shoot
Crazy
like
not to.
a multi-pin or a single pin?
Multi-pin, yeah. I'm still like pretty green, I guess, when it comes to the big picture. But yeah, I think that's with archery. Like your experience is it's crazy the difference when you're out there every day. Like you see in your shooting, just that repetitiveness and as with anything, practice. But it's pretty cool to see, just how accurate you can get, and it's
Oh, yeah, it's freaky.
100%. Yeah, I mean, anyone who hasn't tried archery, it's you can't even explain how awesome it is. I mean, I think it's something everyone should try.
It's similar to welding in the aspect that, like, when you're welding, once you flip your hood down, everything else goes away. So it's the same thing with archery. Once you, like, look through that peep sight and you draw that arrow back, like, you're not thinking about anything else. It's total focus on that
Yeah,
target.
that's just it. Yeah, you got to be so calm and in the moment, and like it completely grounds you. And I think that's kind of rare to find in a lot of things. So, yeah, there's a lot of different aspects to it that make it so cool.
Yeah. Look into a single pin before you get too tied up
Okay.
with a multi-pin, only because,
Yeah.
like, with a multi-pin, you're gonna set, like, your 20 yard, your 30 yard, maybe a 40 or a 45 yard. So you only have,
Yeah.
like, maybe 3 to 5 pins to choose from. But the single pin, if you can get, like, a good range, you just roll back on that dial once you get it sighted in, and let's say, your critter's at 36 yards, you just set that pin to 36, you draw back, and boom, it's on it every single time.
See, I've like heavily debated. The guy kind of talked me into getting like the multi-pin because it's whatever they shoot, they're gonna
Mhm.
recommend. But yeah, I've kind of gone. I think you might have me convinced, but because you're ranging the animal anyway, right?
Yep.
You're getting a range on them, so it's just a matter of having. Because or else you're right. You're guessing between your pins if you don't have it set 100%. So all
Yeah,
right, it's
especially, like,
fun.
if you're shooting at elevation or something, so if you're above the animal or above the target, you've
Yeah,
gotta there's certain adjustments you have to take in consideration because it's not exactly 20 yards, it could be slightly longer because of the hypotenuse that you're shooting at or whatever. So it just
yeah,
gets you in a lot closer because that rangefinder is gonna give you the exact range, and then you just
right.
roll that dial and set it on the pin and boom, lights out.
100% for confidence purposes too, right? It's like okay,
Yeah.
where they're at 100%. Yeah. All right, you got me convinced.
We've
I know
we've
what I'm
got a
doing tomorrow.
we got so when because I was apprehensive because, like I said, I can shoot really well with the multi-pin setup that I had. I had 5 pins, and
Yeah.
so I made the switch, and then I took it down to the range, and I got it sighted in, and it took a little bit to get sighted in, but as soon as I got it dialed in, the range that I go to, they have a known distance, range on the right-hand side, and then, so everything's marked out, 20 yards, 30 yards, 40, 50, but then they have an elevated unknown distance target range with the 3D targets. So you
Okay.
literally walk up like 2 flights of stairs. So you're in an elevated position, and there's like a bear in the back corner. There's a deer. There's an elk. There's a turkey. There's a hog. There's a raccoon. Like they've got all this stuff spread out, but you have no idea what distances they're at. So I was using my rangefinder, and I was just lining up on them. Okay, 37 yards. Set the dial to 37. Draw back. Release. Boom. Hit the target every single time.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
that's
sick.
awesome. Yeah, you got me convinced because that's like half the struggle, I think, as a beginner too, is because you're guessing, like I said, if you're, something's ranged at 25, you're like, well, okay, I guess it's kind of halfway. And then you're like, it completely kind of messes with you. So
Yeah.
to know 100%, you just need to aim where you meant to aim. That's cool. Have you gone to any of the like total archery challenges?
No, I haven't. I've
Okay.
I've never got into, like, competitive shooting, like, and that's all I mean, I've taken my bow out hunting. I've never, like, harvested an animal with it, but I've taken it out several times, but, like, I'm really good with targets, but outside of that, it's usually practicing for hunting season and then going out during hunting season with it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I got I'm going to one of these in San Antonio at the end of April. So I think it's more for fun, like you go with your team and kind of just shoot at the foam, and I won't be too competitive. I'm going for fun purposes. But yeah, I got my first animal, I guess last spring. I got a bear with my bow, and that, like, I was hooked. Like, that feeling is just unreal, right? Just how close you have to be. And I think knowing like the work that went behind harvesting that animal and taking that shot, it's makes it that much better and fulfilling when it happens.
Now in Canada, when you go like bear hunting, because to me that's considered an exotic species. Because here in Florida, we can't shoot bear. They've had they they actually did a bear season like I think 2 years ago, just because the population was getting out of control, and they said that it was going to be like the you had to draw for a permit, and then it was going to be like a 3-day season, or whenever they were done, whenever they reached the max amount of tags or whatever, then they were going to close it out. So I can't remember how many. I think it was like 800 bear or something like that. And so they opened it up on the specific date. Within 3 hours, they closed the season because there was so many
Wow,
bear,
really?
and everybody that had been watching them, they knew where they were. And so it was like 3 hours in, they just boop closed it out.
Just a
And
slaughter.
yeah, and they haven't opened it up again since. So like in Canada, do
Okay.
you just, because when I think of Canada, I'm thinking like there's moose and deer like just running rampant all over the place. Is it just regular hunting season, or do you have to get a special permit or draw a tag, or is there a lottery?
So it depends where you go. Up north, you can just purchase a tag over the counter if you're a resident of Saskatchewan. So, and
Okay.
it's crazy. It's like a $40 tag, and yeah, go up there and great. I think it's just a matter of, you need a place to go, which a lot of people don't have. So, unless you're wanting to pay a lot of money for a guide or whatnot. But yeah, if you're willing to put in the time and, you can bait up there and stuff. So yeah, we're pretty lucky up here, I guess, with hunting moose, deer, bear. We do have some good hunting up here. Like for
Yeah.
you guys, in Florida, what's like the most popular like animal to hunt?
Usually pig, because you can do it year round. So we
Okay.
got, because hog is considered like an invasive species and a nuisance animal. So that's really big. We got deer season, but the deer down here aren't very big as compared to like anywhere else. There's actually a special type of deer called a key deer, which is even smaller than regular Florida deer. And they're kind of like out in the Florida Keys. They're just like, the size of small dogs, but apparently they're delicious. I
Really?
haven't had one yet, but I've heard good things.
So have you got an archery hog yet? Or
No, not yet.
okay.
So I took the first time I went hog hunting, I took it. So, like I said, they're considered a nuisance animal. So, there's not a whole lot of regulations surrounding hogs. So, my brother in law had property just down the road from where I'm at, and he had like hogs coming in and tearing up his yard and, all that stuff. So, I was like, okay, I'll come out there and I'll help you take care of one. So, it was like 11:30 at night, and I was using an AK-47 with a 5-round mag and a night vision scope.
Oh yeah, that's way better than a
And
bow. That's all right.
and I took him, and I was like, okay, cool. This is kind of neat.
That's fun. Yeah, that's good stuff. I'm gonna have to come down and experience that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's hogs everywhere. But so like I've got my buddy and I, we got a piece of property up in Georgia, so that's where I go hunt now. So that's why because we tried to reschedule the podcast, and I was like, oh man, Friday morning I'm leaving to go hunting. So I went turkey
Yeah.
hunting all weekend, and that was just regular shotgun. So we sat in a blind all weekend and called, and then this morning we kind of did like some spot and stock. Just because we weren't having any luck in the ground blind. Like everything just seemed too far away. So I was like, okay, we'll call first thing in the morning, and then we'll start kind of walking around and listening to them. But the water levels were ridiculously high. I would have needed waders or a canoe.
Oh shoot, that's cool. Or I was invited down turkey hunting, kind of like outside New York area, but yeah, I'm undecided. Got a lot going on, but turkey hunting sounds like a ton of fun.
Oh, it is, because you don't always get immediate feedback, but it's cool because you call, whether you're using a slate call, box call, mouth call, and then you'll wait, you'll make a call, you wait, and then you'll just hear like a gobbler just off in the distance. So it's
That's
like,
awesome.
okay, it's working. So now your adrenaline's pumping, and then like you call again and it calls back, and but
Getting a
sometimes they
little
come in.
closer.
Yeah, sometimes they come in, sometimes they get further away. Like it was Saturday morning, I called, and like I had 3 different gobblers from 3 different areas respond. And so
Wow,
like
that's cool.
my adrenaline's like spiked. Me and my buddy were looking at each other like high-fiving and everything, but like they're far enough away to where they still can't, they can't see us.
Yeah,
We're in a ground blind. And so
right.
I call again and like 2 more of them answer. The third one doesn't. Then I call again and one of them would answer, the other 2 wouldn't. So I don't know if I don't talk turkey as well as I'd like to yet. So maybe they
Right.
were
They're
like,
having their own
yeah,
conversation.
they're like, it's a trap. Don't go over there. So I don't know what they were saying.
Trust them. Yeah, that makes sense. They're getting smarter, they say, these animals.
Oh yeah. Cause opening season, I think was last weekend. So I wasn't able to make it up there for that. But we
Okay.
went out this weekend and I think I might be able to get one more weekend in before the season's over.
Oh, that's cool. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It goes for like a month and a half. I think it started, was it the last weekend in March, and it goes through like May 15th or something like that.
Oh, nice. So you guys got turkey hunting, and up here we do a lot of like Canada goose hunts and duck. I'm sure you guys do duck hunting too, but
I haven't
yeah,
I
it's
haven't yet. I want to.
okay. Yeah, it's ducks are hard to hit with the shotgun. They're so quick, but these big Canada hunts we go on, like in October, we're hunting every weekend for birds, but they come in like 5, 6 at a time, floating in right in front of you. It's like the most fun you could have. It's good stuff. Because right, it's big game. You shoot once and they're down, but birds just keep coming in, coming in. So it's a different kind of excitement, I guess.
Yeah, you got to look into when you go. You said you're going to San Antonio next month.
Yeah.
So when you go down there, ask them about sandhill cranes.
Okay.
So allegedly, we have them in Florida, but I think they're still on the protected species list.
Yeah.
But in Texas, it's not. They call them the ribeye in the sky because apparently it's a bird, but it's like a red meat bird,
Yeah.
and they're
It's
supposed to be
funny.
delicious.
That's funny you said that because this past fall, for like the first time ever, we've been hunting out here, or I've only been out hunting out here for 8 years, but never have seen a crane. We got 2 of them on one of our hunts this fall.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it's super good. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's funny you say that because that's the one guy, first thing he said, ribeye of the sky. And they were delicious, like compared to the geese, like way better.
So are like the geese, are they pretty like oily and fatty?
They're, I would just say, quite gamey. I mean, it depends depends how you cook them. We usually just make a bunch of jerky out of them because they got a different flavor. Yeah, a little tougher. I'm sure if you like put a lot of effort into how you cook them, but for the most part, we just make everything into jerky and call it good.
Yeah. Have you ever watched Meat Eater?
Yeah,
Steve Ranella? That's
yeah,
what I like about his show is he'll take you on the hunt, and then after the fact, once the hunt's over and they've harvested the animal, he'll show you how to process it, and then he'll go through like different methods of cooking, or he's got like other, like renowned game chefs, and like they teach you how to go through, process it, cook it, and like try to pull some of that gaminess out, or do something unique with it. He put out a cookbook. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet, but I picked it up at Buc-ee's when I was on my way to Georgia, I think last year. So I got it here in the
nice.
studio. It's just called the Meat Eater, but it's an
That one's
entire
probably gonna be
cookbook.
good.
Yeah, I
That's
want to I
cool.
want to start going through there and doing some of the different recipes and stuff.
100%. Yeah, and sometimes, like you were saying, like there's just like little tips and tricks of how to pull gaminess out. Like, for bear, I think it's when you're skinning them to not let like the fat touch the meat. Just like little things that can make a huge difference, in your meat when you're ready to eat it or whatever. So,
Yeah. What type of bear did you get?
black bear.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Go check out my Instagram. I got a lot of death threats after that one. It's funny. It's
Oh wow.
people don't. I say people. The type of people who are commenting, but it's like deer. I feel like they don't mind as much, but you get like a bear. I think because there's this whole idea. It's like Winnie the Pooh, and it's
It's a teddy bear.
very like it's like romanticized. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's people see a bear, and it's like these are still predators, guys. It's
I
not Winnie the
seen
Pooh out there.
Yeah, I seen a video. I think it was on Instagram. It was a reel at some point. Uh, but a bear came up on this people's porch, and it was just like it was holding down their rug, like their welcome mat, and just kind of
Yeah.
like rubbing its paw across it. But he like just shredded it into bits. It was like effortlessly. Yeah,
There you
easy for you
go.
to say. Yeah. So, but just like zero effort, and this thing just shredded this rut in
Yeah.
front of their house. I was like, whoa. So you don't understand how powerful they physically are and how sharp those claws actually, because if you see a bear claw, you're like, oh, that doesn't look too sharp. But yeah,
Right.
they're like razor blades.
Yeah, 100%. It's like anything. It's no different than, dog hunting, like using hounds to hunt cougars or whatever. It's like people, I think they don't fully realize, the whole dynamic of the situation. They just see this animal, and I think there's a lot of emotions, when people see a bear. And I think, yeah, it's really hard to explain to a non-hunter why you're doing it. It's like, right? It's I don't want to say impossible, but it's very hard to switch people's mindsets, from what they are. And
Yeah.
it's, for me, I've thought about arguing, but there's no point, because people think how they think, and good luck trying to change their
Yeah.
minds.
What's it like hunting an apex predator?
What's it like?
Yeah. I've
Very
never like gone after bear or anything like that.
Okay. Well, very exciting. I mean, so I deer hunted growing up and bird hunted, but this was my first predator hunt. And yeah, I can't even explain the excitement. Like, right, you're sitting, so we bait them in, sitting in tree stand, and you gotta be like, right, deadly quiet. And then you just hear, and they're like, these bears come in so quiet, it's unreal. Like, you see them before you hear them, which is crazy because they're such a big animal.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't even step on like, you can't hear a twig cracking underneath their feet. But yeah, that feeling when like the first bear came in, and I'd never seen one up close like that before. It's like I realized in that moment why the practice was so important with the bow, because your whole body like gives out on you. You're like, am I gonna be able to like go through with this? Like, I feel like I can't even move. I'm so excited. I think, right, there's that aspect of danger, and you're like up that close and personal. And on my bear hunt, the bear actually came right up the tree. So there was a tree like 3 feet in front of us. And this bear like comes up the tree, and he's like eye level with me. It was wild. It was so wild. And my like guide is like spitting on him to get him like back down, because you don't want to make him mad, or hostile. So yeah, he goes back down, and then he was kind of messing with us on the ground. And so I had beef with this bear prior to shooting him. But yeah, and I think a lot of the comments too I got were like, oh, we just like, we ate the bear. And I think a lot of people don't realize that you can eat bear. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people here do, but in different countries, I think a lot of people don't realize you can eat a bear. So yeah, it actually was surprisingly good. I don't know what you've heard about bear meat, but I heard kind of mixed reviews on it and was pleasantly surprised with how good it did taste.
Yeah, I guess it really depends on their diet. So if they've got like a high like animal diet, if they're consuming a lot of protein and animal products and stuff like that, it's a different flavor than, like down here. I don't know what the hell they eat down here, just like little critters. And because we don't have like a
Right.
whole lot of berries in Florida. I don't know if they're like eating heavily on like nuts and acorns and stuff like that, but I know up north, my uncle gets to hunt them in PA, and I guess they eat a lot of blueberries. So that gives like the meat a bit of a sweeter taste. Or, if they're out west, and they're feasting on a lot of fish diet, I guess there's like a little bit of fishiness to the meat. So it really depends on what they're consuming. So same thing, I've heard a lot of mixed reviews off people that, have harvested them before. I had
Right.
a hunting camp up in Madison, Florida 2-3 years ago. And so we'd go up there and, hunt on the weekends for deer and stuff like that. And like I said, Florida bear are protected species. You can't shoot them. So I think we were out hog hunting that weekend. So I had like a pile of corn set up, and this bear just walked in, and I had to just watch him eat all my bait. And like, cause once a bear comes in the territory, they scare away all the deer, all the hogs, like everything goes away. And I'm like trying to yell at him, like, get out of here, bear, go, leave. And he's just, he stood up on his back legs, and like, you don't really understand the size of a bear until like you can see it right there. And he was
Yeah.
probably 20 yards away, and he stood up, and then he kind of sat back down, like kind of Winnie the Pooh style, right over this thing of corn, and just ate all my damn corn. and then,
He knows
then
he's
he,
protected.
yeah. And then he puked, he vomited it all back up, and then he ate it again, and then he left. And I'm like, man, that's just messed up.
Yeah,
I
ruin
can't
my
do
hunt.
nothing about it. I mean, but it was a really cool experience to be able to sit there and watch that. So if nothing else, I got to see a bear in the wild.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too, right? When you're like explaining to these people who are so against it, it's like it is. You talk to any hunter, and it's like, yeah, if you come home with an animal, that is, I guess, the ultimate goal. But just being immersed in nature and like to get to have those encounters and that experience with nature is you can't even explain to people, how special that is. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Because yeah,
and I mean, you're big into conservation too. So I mean, I know you do a lot of fundraisers and you donate a lot of the pieces that you build, especially for like the what is it, the Ram Foundation or
yeah, Wild Sheep Foundation.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that was kind of my big starter was 2 years ago. I did a piece for the Wild Sheep Foundation. And because a lot of people have asked me, like, how have you made these connections? And I've done a lot of networking this past couple of years, but it's all come very natural because, the demographic that I've got that kind of gave me my start was the hunting community. But those connections, like I said, came very natural because that's something I'm passionate about. And so, right, those conversations that you're leading, it's just something that what you're talking about. And yeah, so it's pretty cool to have my art kind of, be able to help out with something like that, conservation, and kind of do my part through my artwork. It's been like a really kind of cool experience.
And then you just donate the proceeds to those different organizations.
Yeah, so with that one, like, right, they would get a cut, like it's 50-50. So whatever it sells for, they get half of that. And yeah, for me though, like a big part of it is getting my name out, especially, that first year. That was huge for me because you now have put your art in front of thousands of people, right? So that was a huge part of it and a kind of a big win for me in doing that.
Yeah, that head on the pack looks freaking sick.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so that was this year's piece. And yeah, that, like, people always ask me what my favorite piece is, and it's hard to choose one, but that it's right behind me actually. There it is.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, so the client sent it back. I'm building her like a custom pedestal for it, and then I'll send it back down. So this poor lady hasn't even seen her prize yet, but yeah, she'll get it soon.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. And it's funny, people like, I find the skulls really resonate with people. Like, for whatever reason, like in metal form, the skulls do look pretty badass. So I'll definitely be doing more of those.
Yeah, I've seen a couple people do the skulls and stuff. I know Cody Algitz, I just had him on the podcast a while ago. He did a really cool one of I
Yeah.
think a longhorn, and then Austin Hargett did one like a ram's, or no, he did a stag.
Oh,
That one turned
cool.
out really cool.
What's his last name? I haven't heard. I know
Hargett,
Cody, but
yeah,
okay.
Hargett, yeah, he, Dr. Welds on Instagram.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know him.
Yeah, he
Dr.
did
Wells.
one with
That's how
a
I
yeah,
know him.
yeah, he did a piece that was like a stag's head, kind of like a
Yeah,
European mount, and it turned out really cool. And I think that was like the first piece he'd ever done. And he's like,
that's
"Man, I don't know if
awesome.
I'd ever do one of those again." It's a lot of work, but and then you get to a point where you're like, "Is that good enough? Do I stop here or can I go back?" And how
Oh
much
man.
effort are you willing to put into a piece?
That is, like, it's funny because people always ask me, like, well, how long did that take you? And I say, well, I completed it 2 weeks ago, but then I spent the next 2 weeks just because you can stare. It's no different than anything. Like, if you stare at a picture of yourself long enough, like, you'll look ugly in your own eyes. You know what I mean? And it's same with this. You can stare because it's art, so it's not going to be perfect. You're not a machine, but that can drive you damn near nuts. Like, it's yeah. Even when I went down to the sheep show, everyone's like, "Yeah, it's amazing, it's perfect," and I'm like, "Oh no, there's like, I missed one spot there." And yeah, it's tough to know, like, when are you call it done. I mean, there is a point you get to, you look at it and you're like, "Yes, that's it, I got it," but there's always going to be one little thing.
Yeah, it's like, how do you know when's good enough? Good enough? How do you know when to quit?
For sure, but then again, right, that's what sets you apart from this guy. If you're willing to spend the extra time and, you know, make it look how you want it to. Perfect, I guess, however you want to say it.
Yeah. Now, are you still doing work in the oil field, or are you 100% like full-time artist now?
So we're in Saskatchewan now, and there's like a fabrication shop down the road. So I was kind of working part-time there. And then this past year, because that was my plan, was just to kind of keep working there, do my thing. But yeah, about a year ago, I kind of realized like if I'm not in my shop, doing my stuff, then yeah, it's never gonna work, and these dreams are never gonna be pursued if I'm not giving 100%. So yeah, this past year I turned this into like my full-time thing, and it feels like I've been thrown into the deep end some days because I started out very much so just like a hobby artist, whatever you want to say, and this year it's really kind of molded into this serious thing, and people are paying me lots of money to do this stuff, so it's getting real, but it's all good.
No, that's good. I mean, it probably gives you a little bit more time with the family too, and then to be able to go out and go hunting and take time off and all that stuff. You can kind of do things on your own schedule and your terms now, if you get to work for that
Yeah,
time.
that's just it. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I always tell people I feel like I know I am working more hours doing this, but it's like I can work, and lots of times I do. I'll get up at 5 and come out to the shop and work, 5, 6 hours, and then I can spend time with my kids. So it's a lot more flexible for sure in a lot of ways. But I definitely feel like the work never ends. But it's different when you're working for yourself, right? I mean, you're willing to put in that time because you know you know what the end goal is. So
Mhm.
yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, and especially now because like your kids are younger, right? I mean, like, have they started going to
Yeah.
school yet?
So my daughter will be 5 this May. My little guy just turned 3, so not they're
Okay, yeah,
young,
they're not in
no
school
school
yet.
yet.
Yeah, so yeah, that's like the best time to you want to try to spend as much time with them as you can.
Hmm. Yeah, that's kind of I think for me the biggest challenge with all this is like this past couple of years, like my mindset has had like kind of made a complete shift, and I guess I realized like what it's gonna take, for me to make this thing go. And it's good, but at the same time it's like it becomes kind of this obsession, and that's the biggest struggle for me is trying to find that balance, because when you're obsessed with something and like, right, this is my absolute passion, it's hard to turn that off. And it's hard to find that balance for sure, to balance the family and the hobbies and make this thing go. So it's a learning kind of curve, but
Yeah, I think everybody's trying to find the perfect recipe for that.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy.
No, and there's no like predetermined way of doing things or no, perfect way of doing things. You get some people that, they're up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You get some at, 5 o'clock. Some people are, late risers, some work, like overnight and, just trying to, because everybody's schedule is different. Everybody's, the demands on every individual, it's a little bit different in every case. There's no one size fits all solution. And
Very
I don't
true.
know how it is in Canada, but the average, I think, work week here stateside is like 40 hours a week, for a full time job. But I can't remember the last time I worked a 40-hour work week. Even when I was, on salary to work 40 hours, I was still putting 50, 60 hours a week in and then trying to
Yeah.
balance family and free time and, side hustles and all the other stuff. And it's just volunteer, time and stuff. It's a lot, there's just not enough hours in the day or days in the week to get everything done.
Oh man, that's just saying you said it perfectly. Like everyone's situation is different, but very much the same. Like we're all trying to do the same thing. It's like you're trying to fit in the most that you can. But then I think the biggest thing for me is, and for everyone, this is like the hardest thing, but to be present in what you're doing in that moment. Like when you're with your kids, to be able to shut off maybe like the work side of things and be with them, which again, easier said than done. And that's, something we could all probably work on. But
Yeah, it was because I'm not used to taking time off. I'm used to like working for, because I run a school, I do a bunch of testing, I do the podcast, all this. Like I've got all these different things. So I always try to be present with my kids
right.
when it's their time, like put the phone down, don't get on the laptop, like all that stuff. So we just did spring break a couple weeks ago. And it was the first time I'd actually taken time off in a while, other than like weekends and some nights and stuff. And so we were on spring break and I was like, I'm just gonna like not look at my phone. So
Yeah,
everywhere we went, I either left it in the car or put it in a lock bag or, something like that, just so I could be there in the moment. And like, I was like, oh, I should take my phone with me to, capture all these moments. And it's like, no, I want to just be here. I don't need to
100%.
take the photos and share them and post them. And like, I just want to be here and do this and spend the time with them and try.
Yeah,
And it's difficult sometimes because especially with a cell phone nowadays, you're like physically attached to the damn thing. And so I
yeah,
got to remind myself, okay, work's done. Just, sometimes I'll just put it on do not disturb and throw it in the room. And it's, throw it in my bedroom when I'm out in the living room. And it's just taking me so long to get to a point where I can do that because I'm always afraid of missing out on something. You get that FOMO or whatever. And it's mostly
yeah.
work related. Like I want to be, if somebody calls, I want to be that solution, so I can build up my clientele and all that stuff. But they'll learn, they'll understand, leave a voicemail. If it's important, send me an email. We'll pick it up tomorrow during, normal business hours.
100%. That's so true, though. I think that's great advice because, like you said, your phone, like there's always in your head, like, well, I should be working on this or checking this email, getting back to this guy. And I think, yeah, to have like the willpower to, like you said, turn it off and like leave it over there. That's yeah, it's great advice because it's crazy what your kids pick up on too, like at a certain age. Like
Mhm.
my little guy is 3, just turned 3, and it's like they know when you're not giving that attention. And right, if you're building a puzzle with them and you're on your phone, like my kids will give me shit now, like get off your phone, which is good. You need
Yeah.
that, but yeah, it makes you feel so bad, right? You realize like what you're doing. Like take a look from the outside. It's like, man, you're like wasting this time looking at this screen. Like you should be here. So it's good advice and something, I think we could all take away from that for sure.
Yeah, because like when my kids were smaller, like same age your kids are, that's when I had to work a lot because I had a small family. And so I was working 50, 60 hours a week, but I also decided to go back to school during that time. So sometimes, depending on my apprenticeship schedule, because I was going through the Ironworkers Union, I was, doing my apprenticeship 2 nights a week. I was attending college classes 3 nights a week. And then we were doing 6 10s or 7 12s all the time. And so my work schedule I was like a zombie for months on end. And
Yeah, that's
like
busy.
it was ridiculous. And then as soon as I graduated and I was done with everything, I was like, okay, I've sacrificed a lot of time away from my family. Now I want to spend more time with them and less time doing other things. So it's,
Yeah.
you don't want a cell phone getting in the way or business or, my work. Even when I was working over at the school, for the college, I had a hard time separating myself because I want to set myself up for success. I want to set my students up for success. I want to make sure I'm, checking all the boxes at work and getting all my tasks completed. And there's not always enough hours at work to get the job done. And I just got to a point where I was like, well, maybe they shouldn't give me so much work, because
Right.
you end up in that situation where it's performance punishment, where you're doing so well, they just keep giving you more and more and more to do, and you keep handling it, so they just continuously give you more because they know, oh, if we give it to Jason, he'll get it done.
Right.
So I had to start stepping back and saying, hey, when I clock out at 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm not responding to any emails until 7 o'clock when I start the next day. And
Yeah.
that's just, I kind of had to get myself into that mindset of get home, put the phone on do not disturb, throw it in a different room, throw it on the charger for the night, and just be done with everything.
100%. Yeah, I think that's the battle, right? Like you said, you want to get ahead and you're trying to make a better life for your kids. So it's, you got that in your head, but then at the same time, you don't want to waste these years with them. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing. And I think it always will be as long as you're grinding at something, So yeah, it's one day at a time, but that is good advice. I like that. Shut the phone off and because I mean, really, I think it's like, what really are you getting done? It like, a lot of the time it's like, it's the worst when you're like mindlessly on your phone. That's the worst times. And then you catch yourself and it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, what am I
My,
doing?
yeah. My biggest problem is I don't like the red notifications. So I
Yeah.
try to answer and respond to everything, but by the time I cycle through all the different apps and, get all the notifications taken care of, they continuously keep popping up. Like they never stop. So that's like my
You would hate
OCD.
my phone.
Oh, that's like now mine's just full of red dots and everything because I finally got over that little OCD thing to where it's okay to have, 300, 400 emails on there and, you know, a
Yeah,
bunch of DMs and text messages, and like, it's okay. It'll wait. If it was important, they would call me, or
that's right.
they would call my wife, because then that's a family issue and I definitely need to take care of that. So yeah,
Yeah. And if it gets too bad, you just, reset your phone and start back at square one. You're good.
start back at zero.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders. If you're in the market for a new TIG welder, I highly suggest the Everlast 255 EXT with the WC 375 water cooler and cart. You can pick up this entire bundle right now for just $2,500 at everlastwelders.com. I've been running my 255 EXT now for just over 3 years, and it is a solid machine. I love running this thing. Right out of the box, it's super simple to set up and get welding. I'm talking like 35 to 40 minutes, and you're ready to go. That includes building the cart, which is probably the hardest part of the whole assembly process. The machine is super simple to set up and get running. Where else can you get a machine? And it comes with a 5-year warranty. Check out all the specs at everlastwelders.com. And as always, if you buy any machine that comes with a TIG torch, be sure to use Arc Junkies in the comments section and get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. We're also brought to you by ISOTUNES. Are you tired of wrecking a $350 set of Bluetooth headphones with grinding dust? Are you jacking up your volume to drown out the sound of the grinder, plasma cutter, and other shop noise? Then check out ISOTUNES. ISOTUNES are OSHA and NIOSH approved hearing protection that double as Bluetooth headphones. Now you can listen to your favorite playlist or podcast without tearing up expensive headphones not meant for shop life and still protect your hearing. Trust me, tinnitus due to long-term loud noise exposure is not fun, but hearing protection with ISOTUNES is. Check out ISOTUNES.com today and see all the different styles and configurations they have to offer. They also make hearing protection for outdoor shooting sports as well. And as a listener of the Arc Junkies podcast, you can save $10 and get free shipping when you use Arc Junkies 10 in the discount box at checkout. That's ISOTUNES.com. Now let's get back to the show. So I noticed, because we were chatting prior to, like, via DMs and stuff, I didn't realize that you had built the Alien for Joe Rogan that
Yeah.
ended up at the
So,
mothership.
yeah, like, I guess when you say for, I did build it for him, but it's kind of a funny story. So are you familiar with Cameron Haynes?
Yes.
You're an archer, so there we go. So he started following me, like, I don't know, a year and some ago. And like I knew, he's buddies with Joe. So I had this kind of crazy idea, like, to get something to Joe Rogan. So I messaged Cam the one day. It's like, hey, if I build something, like, here's my idea. I showed him a picture. If I build this sculpture, will you get it to Joe? And he said, yeah, he would. I think part of him didn't think I was actually going to follow through and build this thing. But sure enough, 4 months later, sent him a picture of it done. He's like, hey, man. And this thing's like 6 feet tall. Like, it's massive. I'm like, got the Alien done. Where can I send it? And he was super cool. Like, really did me a solid there, obviously. He followed through. I shipped it to Cam. And I think like 2 weeks ago, it got to the studio. And yeah, it's crazy because, a year ago, that was like shooting for the moon. That was like this big goal I had. And now it's kind of like a stepping stone. I'm like, what am I going to do now? What am I doing next? But pretty cool to see, that dream kind of transpire. And that piece, like, I busted my ass on that for 4 months. So to see it get, to the final destination, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, I was checking it out. I see you got all the little detail. The first time I saw it, I didn't realize there was a stage inside of the spaceship. And so
Yeah,
I was like, what is that? And I zoomed in. I was like, oh shit, there's like a stool and a microphone. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Cause I went to the Comedy Mothership last time. I was in Austin last year. And so, like,
nice.
Joe Rogan's always talking about it and everything. So I got online and I was able to get tickets on like a Thursday night of all times. It was like a 10:30 showing. And so my buddy Andy and we went because we were there for a CWI convention. And I was like, hey, man, I just got these 2 tickets. I said, I'm going. I just need to find somebody else to go with me. And he's like, yeah, man, I'll go with you. I was like, okay, cool. So we ended up
Yeah.
going over there. And it's a super cool spot in Austin there. And like I said, it was at 10:30. You have to put your phone into a Yonder bag when you get there. And so, like, you have your phone with you, but you have to power it off and you have to put it in this sleeve and they lock it
Okay.
and they don't unlock it until you leave. And so we go up in there. So I have no idea what time it is. We're up there, we're having a couple drinks, we're enjoying the comedy show, the set and everything. Had a freaking blast. Walk outside, they unlock the phone. I get my phone back out, power it back up. It's 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh geez. But I mean, it was
Yeah.
definitely worth it. I was like, if I'm going to Austin, I'm eating at Terry Black's. So we went to the barbecue place, Terry Black's, which is
Yeah.
excellent. And then we went and did the comedy mothership. But it was
And it
it
was
was super
awesome.
cool. Yeah, it was awesome. It was everything he was saying. And we got to see Tony Hinchcliffe and a bunch of
Nice.
other comedians. I can't remember their name. There's like 3 or 4 of them have Netflix specials now, so I watch their specials. But yeah, I'm really big into comedy. So I obviously follow Rogan because he's like the GOAT when it comes to podcasting. But I was
Yeah.
scrolling through and I seen that alien and I was like, oh, that's freaking dope because he posted it. And then he's
Yeah.
like, thanks to, at official Jen Phillips. I was like, holy shit, like I'm supposed to have her on the podcast in a couple weeks. That's freaking dope.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, that's just it, right? Like it's like the Joe Rogan effect. Everyone knows about it. It's like whatever he says kind of goes. And for like, that's to me, one of like the biggest compliments you get. It's like, wow, Joe thinks this is cool. It must be cool.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, it's, yeah, pretty wild. Even like when I've seen it on there, I'm like, holy shit, this is getting real. And, yeah, no, it was good. It definitely gave me some street cred, and it's, yeah, pretty cool to have a piece down there. And like I said, it's, knowing like what it took to build that thing and to see it all come together. It's, yeah, can't even describe the feeling. So
Yeah. And he's putting it at the mothership.
yeah, so was like my whole goal, because that's the thing. He has like so much art in the studio, but to have like, because this thing, I flew it down to FabTech last year, and it was like, because it's like a weird looking, it's like an attraction. People were like taking selfies with it, and I think hopefully it's a hit at the mothership because it's just something so unique, I guess.
Oh, it's probably going to be an iconic piece.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, hopefully next time we go down, it's at the mothership. That'd be cool.
So did you pick up like a bunch of followers and get a bunch of DMs and stuff after he posted that?
Yeah, I got pretty wild there, like right after he posted that for sure. And it's, I was a little nervous because I think once something is out online there, you never know kind of the response you're going to get, especially with his following. It could go
Either
south
way.
real quick. But for the most part, and I know you shouldn't read the comments, but sometimes, I go down a rabbit hole. But for the most part, like the response was pretty good. And that kind of gives you a idea of how people perceive it. So yeah, it was good. But yeah, I picked up a couple big jobs since he posted that. So it's definitely worth it.
Very cool. Yeah, I've noticed that it seems like a lot of people in the welding community, especially that do the artwork, they end up with a piece over at Joe's studio or whatever. Like the guy that he built the grandfather clocks for Rogan, Emmett Russell with Russell Built.
Oh,
So
okay.
cool story behind that. He's the one that actually did the Emmett Russell. He did the sign for the Junkies podcast. When my buddy Jimmy McKnight had the show, he reached out to him. He's like, "Hey, can I build you a sign?" That's the one that's over here on my right there. I don't know, left or
Okay,
right
I
on
was
either side
actually
of the
looking
screen.
at that. I'm like, turn your camera so I can see that. Oh, very cool. That's sweet.
Yeah. Then I put
That's
I got
awesome.
some Canadian money up on there from when I went up to where the hell was it? New Brunswick. I went out to New Brunswick for a
Yeah,
CWB conference. So I
nice.
put that up on there, and then I built like a little metal scorpion. I got that on there, and then the flag, but yeah, I'm just
That's
kind of
cool. I
decorating
like
stuff
the
around it.
lights.
It's pretty
That's
dope. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it
that
goes
looks
like
sick.
different blues and reds, greens, and stuff like that.
Very cool. Yeah, that's what I think like going forward, I would love to incorporate. So that alien that I did, I actually made an opening in the bottom so you could stick a strip of LEDs into like the arch. But, I'll have to like, if I go down there, I'll have to just like sneak in,
You got to mount some green ones in
hook
there.
that up. Yeah, that'd be very cool.
Little green
Yeah,
man.
that was the hardest part, because like it's like the hardest thing about doing this is all you have to show people is a picture or a video, and like it's just a completely different experience than when you're walking around the piece and looking at all this. Like even you said, you did miss the whole inside of the UFO at first. So I think for a lot of people, and I know even Cody, I was talking to him about this, but like that's for me the most important thing is getting those quality pictures of your art, because That is all people are getting, right? It's going to make the difference between selling a piece or not. Because if you take iPhone quality picture, it can really kind of make your stuff look not as good as it actually is in person. And yeah, as an artist online, I feel like that's a huge thing.
So do you hire, like, when you put your pieces up on your website, do you hire like a professional photographer to come in and like figure out the lighting and the angles and, get the pictures from different perspectives so people can actually see the full detail versus, like a sunny afternoon or, well lit shop on an iPhone and taking a picture. So you get that, it's completely different if you get a professional in there.
No, so all my stuff is like trial and error, but a year, maybe 2 years ago, I did like do the research and got the full setup. So I think for me, like, because I have gotten pretty good at photographing my stuff, but at this point, I'm so picky, and I compare it to like your kids. Like, I know like like how to take a good picture of my kid. I know my kid. It's no different than the art. I feel like I'm so picky. Like, I know the best angle, and like, yeah, for me at this point, and I know eventually I will 100%, hire a photographer, but they're gonna have a tough time because I'm very, very picky about, how the pictures I take, and because that can make all the difference in the world. Because I'll take 500 pictures like of the headdress. I probably take 500 pictures to get 2 good shots, and that's just the reality of it. So I think like advice for artists is like, especially sculpture, is put the time in and get that perfect picture, because that's selling your piece. Because, right, most people online, well, all of them, no one's seeing this in person. So, like, for me, even down the road, like, I want to get like a different camera setup, because all my videos are like just iPhone quality, which it's doing the trick. So maybe it's not worth it, but yeah, I don't know.
Now tell me a little bit about the headdress. What was like the inspiration behind building that and like the different mediums and how you went through that whole process of building that out? Because that's your most recent piece, right?
Yeah, are you talking about like the
Yeah, the big headpiece that you got.
big one I did? So that one actually made. Have you heard of War Party? War Party movement, War Party Ranch.
I only seen them because of you tagged them in your one of your posts, and I went and checked it out. But
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know a whole lot
So
about it.
okay, so Jeremiah is kind of Jeremiah, this guy I've been talking to. But anyway, he runs this whole thing, and it's basically they have like a ranch set up, and they'll take in like victims of abuse, and especially in the indigenous community, like women and young women and kids, and they teach them, like they'll do like an 8 weeks at the ranch, and they'll teach them different skills and teach them how to hunt, and you know do lots of like rodeo stuff, and kind of just get them back on their feet, and give them confidence going back out, maybe setting them up with a job. And anyway, I really liked what he was doing, so we got talking, and then I had this idea like, okay, well, I'll do a headdress, auction it off, and then donate some of the proceeds to the ranch and kind of help them out. So I've done like a couple of this. I'm sure you've seen the smaller headdresses that I've done,
Mhm.
but like for the past 2 years, I've really wanted to do like one of these great big headdresses. So I figured this would be the perfect time, because it's kind of like a special thing that I was doing for War Party. And yeah, I mean, inspiration for the pieces, I think lots of my stuff just comes from a picture that I've seen on the internet or came across. Like sometimes you see something and it's like, oh, like do you weld? You're a welder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see, right? You see something, it's like, damn, I want to make that. Like, I'm sure you've had that feeling.
Yep.
So that's kind of with the headdress. This one though, I wanted it to like stand out, against all the other ones that I'd done. So obviously the size of it, but I have been like trying to incorporate like different colors into my stuff, like, but I'm not a fan at all of like the bluing thing. I get so many comments like, you should blue the feathers. I'm like, if I wanted to blue the feathers, I would blue the feathers. Like, why you guys tell me what to do? I love that. I love the peanut gallery in the comments telling me how to weld. That
Yeah,
is
the
my.
people that don't do it for a living telling you exactly how to do what you're doing great at.
Oh man, yeah, you got like that drives me absolutely nuts. It's like you've never turned on a welder. Why are you giving me advice? But anyway, so yeah, I've been like, I really like the more natural looking colors. So I'll do kind of a mixture that's gonna like rust, the metal, and then, so there's a bit of like browns in there, and that rust color against the steel, I think looks pretty cool. So yeah, that was a fun piece to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you do like the rusting process prior to assembly, or was that something you did after the fact?
So this one I did after the fact. Like I went in, like the band I did prior to, but then as you're welding, you get like heated spots that you got to grind down, and then you'll have to like recolor those spots. But yeah, it's funny because people are like, how do you rust that and this? And honestly, like I use a mixture of salt, vinegar, and hydrogen peroxide, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Cody, because one of my students did that, but I
Okay.
think he used bleach, salt water, and
Oh
peroxide.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
couple
and it's
different. So I was
funny.
going to
It's
ask you what your mix was.
yeah, it's like as I'm doing it, I'm like, this is so like feels unprofessional. I'm just like mixing this stuff in a bowl, and but it works, and it's like I don't know. I think that's what the fun part about it is. It's like it's art, and you can mess around, and sometimes it turns out fucking awesome. Sometimes not, and you just gotta like trial and error, I guess.
Yeah. Now, what do you use to seal it when you're done?
So I just use like a Rust-Oleum. I haven't got anything powder coated because most of my stuff that's like my style is kind of having the different layers and like the darker spots. So I feel like if I powder coated it, it would take away like that contrast in the metal. So yeah, I just seal it with like a spray Rust-Oleum. It's yeah, seemed to work well up until now.
Yeah, no, it looks killer.
Oh, thanks, man. Have you talked to like other artists? I'm just curious now, like what other people are doing.
Oh yeah, I've had Ivan Ilar's been on. I've had Ray Ripple, Stephanie Hoffman, Cody Aljets. I've had a bunch of different artists on, because that's like
Yeah.
the one area that I've got a lot of questions about, because like my whole background was structural steel, architectural, ornamental, and inspection, and so like I've
Okay.
always wanted to do artwork, uh, but like it's never a time that I've sat down and actually did something. Like I did, you might have seen it like on Instagram. There's like a little log splitting setup. It's kind of got like a little base and the sawhorses and a piece of like a log and an axe and all that. So I was like, you know what, I want to do that. So I actually
Yeah.
built that at one point. I was at the school and I had some, time where I was just killing. And so I just started grabbing miscellaneous scrap material, and I'd work on a little bit here and a little bit there. And so I finally built this piece. And I think it's like not the only piece I've ever done, but like one of the pieces that I built it, and I was like, that's exactly how I wanted it to turn out. And it was
Yeah.
super cool.
That's awesome. I haven't seen that, but now is it on it's on the page?
It's somewhere on there. Actually, hold on one second.
Yeah, I'm like, I definitely want to check that out.
A few moments later.
So it's all steel. This is going to make for great podcasting, because
Oh, that's so cool, man.
that's just
That
like
is
solid
unreal.
5/8 round that I just TIG welded across, and then I took a
Yeah.
piece off a bandsaw blade and uh,
Oh, dude,
just tigged up a little
that's fucking
wire to it,
awesome.
but made a little
Okay,
axe.
that's so cool.
But yeah, it's something I seen on Instagram, and I was like, I could do that.
Dude, I'm like, you gotta pursue this thing, because that's the thing. It's like if you know how to weld and like work the metal, like you're pretty much good. Like,
That's all it is like
yeah.
just shaping it. But I never have the time, and it's always trying to find like inspiration. I think I talked to Dabs Wellington a while ago, because he does a lot of the different TIG welded art pieces.
I
And
was gonna say, there's one on your wall behind you.
so he did this one over here. So Dabs
Oh
did
yeah,
that one
yeah.
over there. That was the original podcast logo. And then Daniel Osig out of Germany, he did that one right there, if it'll focus.
That's crazy, like just how detailed that is. That's wild.
Oh yeah, both of those guys are super talented. And I've tried doing TIG art, and I haven't put
Yeah,
in the amount of time that I need to. But I always
right.
get discouraged, like I'll run a couple passes, be like, well, that didn't turn out. I'll try it again
Yeah,
later.
dip your
Later's like
tungsten a
2
couple
years
times.
later. Oh, I always dip my tungsten. As soon as I hit the foot pedal,
Oh
I
man.
light up and dip the tungsten intentionally, just so I can get it out of the way, because I know it's gonna happen.
It just drives you wild. I should say when I see them, it's just so effortless. Just like, oh man, that's something like you said, like I'd love to get into and get very good at, but it's just like anything, if you're not putting in the time, and it's like that's not making me money, so I don't got time to.
Yeah, I don't have time to mess with it.
Yeah, but no, it's very impressive what they do. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like I got to go hang out with Dabs last year. We went to Viper Fest, so the guys that make Viper Energy and the Viper
Oh
chairs and the
yeah,
Viper cart and all that. They
yeah.
threw like they had like a big shindig up there. So Dabs and I went up there to be like we did a couple welding classes throughout the day, so people would sign up and they'd come in and learn how to do like Dabs's TIG art. So
Oh cool.
we did basic TIG welding. So I went through like the fundamentals, the basics of TIG, and then Dabs kind of took everybody and they went through and they started doing these little tiki head pieces, and it was really cool.
That's awesome. Does he do lots of his stuff like the piece behind you? It looks like it's almost on like a mirrored steel, like it's
Yeah, so
just
it's all mirrored stainless. So that's what I was
ah
asking him.
okay.
Sometimes he'll get it like pre-cut, just because he
Yeah.
doesn't have the time. But he does every once in a while. He'll get like raw stainless and then he'll polish it out. He's got like a whole procedure, grain that he'll start off with, and then buffing compounds, and like he did like food grade conveyor systems for a long time. So he was like really
Oh,
good at
okay.
like polishing. That's kind of where he got his start, and then he kind of learned TIG welding on the job, and he just took off and ran with it.
Yeah, that's he'd be a good guy to talk to then, because I've been like watching videos and stuff, because it would be really cool to kind of work, like get some of my stuff really shiny. I always kind of like wondered what would this look like if it was like a mirrored finish, you know? But it's a whole thing. It's like the time that it
It's a
would take to
process,
like
yeah.
make an entire one of my pieces like chrome finish like that would be might drive me nuts, but it might be cool to try.
Oh, I'm sure, but I mean, like, it'd be like another outlet for you, another way to do things, or a way to incorporate, uh, you know, not necessarily different medium because you already work with stainless now, right?
Yeah, I do, but just kind of a different, yeah, different look. And I mean, everyone, that's the thing, everyone likes a different thing. So maybe that would cater to like this demographic who kind of likes more of that shinier, kind of thing. But yeah, it's sometimes you like aren't really planning what the piece is going to come out like. It just, you do it and then it's like, all right, this is my style. This is what it is.
Yeah, because like because you just did a piece. I'm not sure when you did it, but you started using copper for the first time.
Yeah, I did that dog tooth tuna.
Okay.
It was like skeleton, half skeleton, and then the other half was like lifelike fish. Yeah,
Yeah, so
that piece.
bringing those two different mediums in together, now you could like incorporate stainless. I know. Have you ever seen Kevin Stone's work?
Yeah, I have. He does
He
some
does some
crazy
really
stuff.
cool, but like he does a lot of polishing and blending and stuff like that. Like he did the eagle, the T-Rex, and the dragon from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
That whole
I've
thing
seen
is
those.
polished out.
Well, and yeah, it's so wild that like I think he has his whole family like in on it too, which is
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, the amount of time like polishing that those parts up, it's yeah. But yeah, he does some wild stuff. Like the planning, I think even that goes into those, right? Just the size of them. Like you need to have that shit like dialed in, right? Like to do those bigger pieces and make sure that like because for him, I don't know, it looks like he does like a frame and then he'll do a template and kind of it's piece by piece. It's crazy,
Yeah, and
crazy.
then he'll wrap the frame and stuff.
Yeah, it's wild. It's super cool. I'd love to see one of those pieces like the dragon up close. That'd be yeah, be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, he does some sick work. But it'd be cool to like incorporate some of those different like textures and the way that steel versus stainless versus aluminum versus copper, kind of blend those all together.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, I would like to get like I can't remember what his name is. Shane Against the Machine. That's what it is.
Yes, that's I was gonna say. He's another guy that did some stuff for Rogan.
Oh yeah, he does a lot of like I think uses the silicon bronze and copper brass, but I'm a big fan of his work. It's kind of got that like gnarly aspect to it, which is kind of right up my alley. And yeah, he does some really cool stuff. It's
A lot of the
awesome
stuff
seeing
is
like
all war relics.
right, yeah, which is wild. Like yeah, I'm like, where do you find where do you find this stuff? It's cool.
Yeah, I don't even know where he's based out of, but like I seen it, he put up a video the other day of some of the stuff that he has just like sitting up on the shelf, like old bayonets and the different knives and helmets and all that stuff. I think he used to sell a lot of his stuff on eBay, if I'm not mistaken, and then it got pulled down because there's controversy because I mean it's like historical stuff from World War II. So there's Nazi symbols and logos, and people are like, "Oh, those are hate
Okay.
pieces and stuff like that." And like, but he does some really cool stuff. It's got like the German officer's knife with the helmet, and turned it into a lamp, and I mean it looks really cool, and it's a
Yeah.
historical piece.
Yeah, that's just the coolest part behind it is like the meaning and the story behind these. Like who wore this helmet? It's yeah, super cool. That's the beauty of social media. Like it has its dark side, but just being able to draw inspiration from each other. And I think I was talking to his name's Jeff Weir, but he's on Instagram. He does like Western paintings and a bit of sculpture, but I was kind of had a conversation with him, and he's kind of the same as me. Didn't go to art school, kind of like figured out on his own. But it's like the art world, I think, can be maybe not such a good place where people don't want to help each other and don't want to give away their secrets. But it's cool when you can find other artists who are willing to. And you don't want to give up all your secrets. I get that. I'm an artist too, but if you can like help, everyone's got a different style anyway, right? Like you can tell Cody to make something and me to make something, and his style is different than mine. And like I don't mind spitballing with different artists and welders and figuring out like how to do something, like how to polish this or what did you do for this. It's like it's cool and you can draw from each other and kind of inspire each other.
Yeah, it should be like a community. I mean, there's room. It's just like welding. I mean, there's room there for everybody to get into it. I mean, yeah, there's a couple things you're going to want to like try to keep close to the chest and not reveal too many
Yeah.
secrets. But I mean, you can still help somebody out along the way, along their journey.
Yeah, 100%. That's like for me, I think that is part of it because it's no different than if you're like a chef. You don't want to give away your secret recipe. So I mean, I know for me, like the videos that do the best on my account are the ones, where they're close up and I'm showing like the step by step. But then it's also like I'm trying to give it, show them how I did it, but not give away like everything that I did. So you got to find like that balance.
Mhm. You should reach out to Adam Benjamin. He's another Canadian. He's based out of New I think not New Brunswick. What's the way far east coast?
Newfoundland.
That might be it. It might be it. But he's
Okay,
he's out of
Newfoundland.
Canada. No, it's not Newfoundland.
Okay, DEI.
Damn it, where is
Could,
he?
could be New Brunswick.
It's like might be yeah. Even what's further west than New Brunswick? Nova Scotia.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So he's out there. He's irontide.ca on Instagram. But
Okay.
he does a lot of like nature pieces, like octopus, kraken, ships. Like he's very nautical themed.
That's awesome.
But he does some really cool stuff.
I'll definitely check that
But
out.
he does like the patinaed look and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it cool. Like it's cool to see it's for an artist, for me, like I'm really into hunting and this, that sort of nature theme. So it's like, and for him on the East Coast, it's cool when you do stuff that you're familiar with. And yeah, because that's the big question is like, where do you draw your inspiration? And for a lot of the time, it's just what you know, like it's way easier to make something that you've seen or experienced firsthand. But at the same time, I've never seen, a chimpanzee playing pool. I'm
Yeah.
making one.
That was
So
pretty cool. I like that. Like I said, I like primates, man. There's just something about them. I'll sit at the zoo and watch them for hours. Especially, there's just something about a silverback gorilla. They're just so massive and powerful, and they look so gentle and like carefree and playful and stuff like that. But I mean, they could literally rip you in half. They're just
oh yeah,
ridiculously strong.
100%. Yeah, it's wild for sure. Like watching videos just of how like human some of their like actions can be.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're some wild animals. But yeah, I'm really excited to finish this one. And then I've got another piece coming up. I'm doing like a woman's face, which is completely different than anything I've done and is gonna be, I don't know, like I think it's gonna be super difficult, but I'm trying to be positive about it.
Now, how do you start off when you build these pieces? Because I saw, I guess, the alien, you used 2 spoons for the eyes originally. But
I
like
did,
when you
yeah.
go to start setting these things up, are you using scrap metal? Is everything new, or is it a mix between scrap and new metal, or how do you go about figuring out what you're going to use for the different pieces you're doing?
Yeah, it's a good mix. So for the eyes, I found on a lot of my pieces, I've been using like bearing balls, and they're just, it depends like how big you need it, obviously. But yeah, it's a mix. So like that kind of stuff I'll buy new, because I want it to be perfectly shiny and in good shape. But yeah, for a lot of the stuff, like for the sheet steel, which is how I like, build a frame and then I'll sheet it in. So I try to use as much scrap as I can, obviously. And that's the beauty of metal, is like you can find this piece of shit, rusty pipe or whatever, and you can make it look new. That's the best part of it, right? Like underneath that rust is, you can clean it up and get it looking new. So yeah, it really depends what I need. I mean, I got a huge pile of scrap metal behind me, so I'll kind of pull it out of there. And I mean, yeah, you know how expensive steel is. So if I can use scrap metal, that's all good.
Yeah, that's definitely a plus, especially if you got it laying around from previous jobs and it's still relatively new.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And people are like, so when I first started out, that's kind of what I was doing, was like the cutlery. I did like a couple decks out of like spoons and knives and stuff. And yeah, I would go around to like the Value Village, or I don't know what kind of secondhand stores you guys have down there, but I would like clean out all of their utensils, and I kind of felt bad when I when I left, but yeah, and it's funny because when I was doing that, that's how I started out, and then in my head I'm like, is this just what I'm going to be doing forever? It's just like the cutlery thing, and then you slowly evolve, and every piece you do, you get a little bit better, and you know figure things out. So it's crazy looking back at those pieces to what I'm doing now. It's yeah, pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's a dude, Daryl Olson with Olson Metal Art, that
Oh yeah, I've
he
heard about
does a
him.
lot of that stuff with cutlery, like forks and spoons and knives and
Like
all
the
that
little
stuff.
birds and
Yeah, he
stuff.
did like a little parrot and stuff, but it almost looks like it was titanium. I don't know if because
Okay.
he's working with stainless, but I'm wondering if he's like polishing the stainless even to like a higher grade, and then
Oh, okay.
tacking it, welding it together, and then like you can do a lot of work with a flame. You start flame kissing it and getting it to certain temperatures, and you'll get like your blues, your pinks, your yellows, and all that stuff. But I mean, like, yeah, he's got some peacocks and stuff that he's done with, it looks like forks and spoons, and he does some really
Yeah.
cool stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean that was fun to do. I enjoyed doing like the utensil stuff, but I also, it's crazy, like with enough time, you put enough time in and you kind of find out your style and whatever. But yeah, for me, like the most joy I get out of doing stuff is when I'm like fully sculpting. Like it's a ton of work because you're literally just welding and grinding and welding and grinding. But for me, like that is so satisfying, seeing something go from like two bearing balls to like this full monkey. It's like, how did I do that? It's some wild shit. Yeah.
No, it looks pretty cool. I mean, because you showed the picture of the monkey, and then you kind of moved it out of the
Yeah.
way, and I was like, holy shit, it's like an exact replica. How do you maintain the ratio? Are you sketching a lot of this stuff out, or are you just kind of going by, okay, I've got a picture, I got to make it, this much bigger, this kind of looks like it's going to work, and or is it drawn out, and then you kind of like pull dimensions and stuff, and then just kind of figure out 2.5 times the size of.
Yeah, so honestly, like I've tried, I can't draw like with a pencil, and I would like to improve that skill, but yeah, it's kind of like this weird niche like eye that I have for like sculpting, because you see in the picture that I use, and that's, so I use that, and then on my phone I'll find like a bunch of pictures, different angles, and kind of go off those. But yeah, for the animals that I do, it's all just like eyeballing them. And for like the sheep skull, I had an actual ram skull with me to get, because it really depends what it is. Like if someone tells me to do a replica of like a set of elk antlers, I need that piece. Well, it's easier to have it right in front of me, but for the most part, like doing this kind of stuff, I'm just eyeballing it. I don't know
Okay.
if you like the dog tooth tuna that I did
Mhm.
with like, did you see that piece? It had like, I did the full like skeleton side of the fish.
That was no, I may have glanced at it. I don't remember exactly which
Okay.
one.
Yeah, all good. But so this client sent me like pictures of like the each individual bone from this dogtooth tuna with like a measuring tape against it. And he wanted like exact replicas of the bones, and then formed into like the skeleton. So that was like a wild thing because you're going off, a picture and a measuring tape. So
Okay, I see it now. Did you use copper on that one?
I did, yeah, for the eye. But yeah, like so the skeleton side, that's like an exact replica. Like it was like fish bone taxidermy basically that I managed to pull off. But yeah, that one challenged me like in more ways I can explain. But each piece you do like that though, right? It's like the challenges, but that's what makes you better. So
So do you
yeah,
do
that
you
one was
put like
cool.
a lot of texturing on there with like a MIG gun and then go back and shape with a grinder to get a lot of the features, or do you add scrap metal underneath it and weld over top of it to kind of speed that process up?
Yeah, it really just depends. Like, that's just it. It depends, like, how much depth you need or how high. Like, for the alien, I don't know if you've seen the how
Mhm.
to video that I did, but it was like I stacked like metal bar and then welded on top. But for lots of the details, it's just like welding because to get like that perfect shape, it's just easier to like lay beads down and then grind them. I think that's what scares a lot of people off, though, is like if you're a welder, you know how much work, that is like physical effort that goes into these. And I think if you're not making money off it, I think it's like, damn.
Yeah, I remember my welding instructor, he had a piece that was it was like a cowboy, but it was just
Oh
like
yeah,
the face of it. And so he took like a piece of probably 4-inch diameter pipe and just cut it halfway down the side and then started cutting towards the front to make like a jawline. So it's
cool.
like just like a split coped piece of pipe almost. And then he
Yeah,
welded like he put like tacked welded little washers and nuts and bolts and stuff on there just for like the cheekbones and like the eyebrow area and stuff like that. But then he just ran TIG lines right over top of everything. And so it was
yeah,
just like the welds, but it followed the symmetry of the face. Like, have you ever seen when they have to reconstruct like a human skull and they put all the little dots on there and then they start putting the molding clay to give it all the forms and features and stuff. And then that's how they used to
yeah,
figure out what that person looked like based off the image of the skull or based off
yeah.
like the physical skull. That's kind of what he did with just like small hardware around the shop. But then when he welded the lines over across it, it kind of looked like John Wayne when he was done. And then he TIG welded up like a little cowboy hat and put it on top of it. It was pretty cool.
That's
And I
wild.
tried
That's
replicating it and I screwed up the pipe that I was welding on. It was bad.
yeah, that's so cool though. And that's the crazy thing about art is like there's no right way to do anything. It's just, you know, a matter of like just doing it and seeing what you come up with. That's super cool though. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hope this works out.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the thing though, when you're like, it's gotten to the point for me now, it's like these are real, this is my job. And like, people hand me a picture and they're like, can you make so there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot on the line here, especially when they're like timely jobs and it's like, all right, you have 2 months to do this and you better figure it out, in that time. So I haven't run into anything that I can do so far, but like I said, this face that I'm going to do is going to be a completely new challenge because, part of the job, he's like, well, make sure she's a beautiful woman. I'm like, all right, man, no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. And that's subjective too.
Well, that's right. That's right. I thought she was beautiful.
Yeah. So do you do multiple commissions at one time or you just like one piece at a time? That's really all you got the bandwidth for.
So like I have jobs lined up into 2025 now, but I have a really hard time like jumping between those. So I'll like finish one normally and then hop on to the next, because when I'm like on a job, I'm completely dialed in and in the zone. And it's not just in the shop, but like when I go inside, like in the middle of these jobs, I'm like staring at pictures and like figuring out how to make it look as realistic. And I'm just completely obsessed with that one piece and getting it right that it's really hard for my mind to like shut off and then move on to completely, move on to something else. I become like very absorbed in the piece that I'm working on in that moment. So yeah, normally just one at a time. My
Yeah,
brain.
I wouldn't have the bandwidth to do multiple at a time.
No, because it like I said, it's not just in the shop working on something. It's like it consumes like my entire life outside of the shop because that's all I can think about, and I like obsess over it. So yeah, one at a time.
Yeah, you got to get in the zone with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, how'd you come up with the name Metal Monkey Design?
Yeah, it's so disappointing, my answer for this question when I get asked, but I think so back like 4 years ago, I started Metal Monkey, and I was kind of making the switch. Like I had my daughter, and I was getting out of the oil patch, and it was really I just needed a name for my business. I was making like table bases and benches, and I wasn't doing really art yet, so I just needed a name for my corporation, and it was kind of catchy. And I don't know. That's basically the gist of it. I had an idea. It was kind of like I designed the logo first and then came up with the name. So like the original logo for Metal Monkey is like it's a monkey and he has like a banana stinger. Like, anyway,
Cool.
I had this idea and the name it kind of just stuck. I've thought about changing it to something more professional, but it just is what it is at this
No, it's
point.
like an origin story. Like, keep it.
Yeah, it's catchy. I mean, people don't forget that one. And now it's funny, I'm making a monkey. Like finally, I'm making the metal monkey.
There you
I
go.
might have to keep this one.
You should do the not to tell you like you do these, but like you ever
Yeah.
seen the three monkeys, the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil?
Oh yeah.
That'd be a
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of cool portrait with like three of
Series.
those. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think like you showing me your kind of mock up of the axe and log. It's like I would like because I usually go toward like the larger things, but I would like to try my hand at doing the because I've had people say like, well, I like the headdress, but can you make me like a desktop version? But it's like it's the same like how do you charge for something like that because it's the exact same amount of work and skill that goes into it. So
Mhm.
like yes, it's less material, but like you've done smaller pieces, it's almost harder to do those like
Yeah,
really.
there's a lot of intricate and then working around the power tools and everything. You got to clamp everything up just right so it doesn't fly across the shop and you're not cutting your fingers off.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like those are like the most frustrating pieces to do are those smaller ones. So I've turned down all my desktop job offers so far. We'll see.
Look at get a hold of have you ever heard of David Madero?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he's
So
got some good
he's a
stuff.
super cool guy. Like, reach out to him because what he does, he's done like you've seen probably the big cross that he's done or the bull, or
Yeah,
like the Mexican flag with the eagle with the snakes in his talons. But
yeah.
what he does is he'll build these larger than life sculptures, and then he'll make smaller versions. But he just does like a mold, so like a bronze mold,
Oh,
and then very
okay, okay.
similar. So this is the piece from Ivan Ilar, the Hold Fast. So it's
Oh,
kinda he just
that's
does like
sweet.
he'll take like the big massive sculpture and then he'll do, like a bronze replica of it. So that's not what Ivan did, but that's kinda what David does, and then he can resell those. So if you don't want a full 50, 60-foot
Yeah.
cross in your house, you can get like the tabletop version.
Oh man, I'm like, that's so cool you said that. I was that Jeff Weir I was talking to you about, that painter. We had a phone call last week and he's like, yeah, have you ever thought about doing kind of the bronze casting? And so I've never heard of anyone like casting the metal sculpture. So that's like, I'm so happy you said that. I'm
Yeah, they
definitely
just
gonna.
take it, shrink it down, figure out what it is, and then Ivan actually went through and did that whole process. Like he made the mold. There's a guy down
Oh
the street that
wow.
was teaching him how to do it, and so that was I think he made 750 of those pieces. Um,
Wow, oh, well, that's like such a smart move too, because there's a lot of times I'll make something and it's like, it's just one, and like, right, if you could get a few more out of that, yeah, that's awesome. I'll definitely be probably looking into that.
yeah, and they're
It's
both
cool.
super cool guys. You could reach out to them and ask them any questions, and they'd probably be more than happy to help you out and kind of help you avoid some of the same mistakes they made. Coming up and doing the same
Right.
things.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's the beauty of doing this, right? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and then have you ever thought of collaborating with any other artists?
I have definitely thought about it. It's kind of one of those things like it's a time thing, you know, it's like to find the right piece. And then I think the biggest struggle is like if you do that, you want to be able to sell that piece, right? But yeah, I think that would be super cool down the road to do that. To have like two different styles come together could be epic for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of different artists on Instagram you could reach out to and be able to do something.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be cool. And then too, right? It's like they have their following, you have yours, so it's kind of like you're reaching double the people when you do that. So yeah, definitely a cool idea.
Yeah, and there's a lot of artists up there in Canada, or if you wanted to come down stateside or have somebody go up, that way. And
For
I think
sure.
I
Yeah, I
think
think.
Cody's in Colorado, which isn't too far from where you're at in
Oh,
Saskatchewan,
okay.
because you're both
Yeah.
central time zone, right?
Yep. Yeah, he would be. Cody does some really cool stuff. I know. I actually listened to his podcast before mine, but like he was a firefighter right
Mhm.
before, and yeah, he has a really good eye for stuff. You know, it's yeah, I really like his art. It's cool. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool to see what everybody can do with metal. You don't just have
Yeah,
to build a building or a race car or, run fluids through a pipe. I mean, it's just such a cool piece of material to be able to work with and shape it and form it. And, even blacksmithing, I've been getting into that for the past couple years. And it's just fun to be able to mold metal and, make it do things to your will.
100%. That's cool. I'm gonna have to pick your brain about that. I've kind of like thought about doing the whole blacksmithing thing. It would probably add another dimension to my stuff. But
Oh, no,
how
I'm
have you
not the
been
guy to
liking it?
teach you anything. I'm still learning it, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much.
for sure. Have you done like classes or kind of just figuring it out on your own?
No, so we kind of sponsor a group called the Florida Artist Blacksmith Association. So
Oh
before
yeah,
before we sponsored, like for at my school, we provide them with a place to be able to have their meetings once a month. But prior to that, I was a member, so I would go to like Barberville, which is like 2 hours away, like the first Saturday of every month, and I would participate as a member. And then, so now that it's over at my school, I get to participate a lot more often because I'm usually the one that unlocks the gate and helps get everything set up. And so it's not like it is classes, but it's not like I'm paying to go to these classes. It's pretty much open to the public. But they're always doing demonstrations and they have, other smiths there that have been doing it long enough to where they can tell me, like when I first started out, I thought I knew how to swing a hammer. Well, no, that's the first thing they tell you. Everybody swings the hammer the wrong way. So I'm learning,
yeah,
right along with everybody else. So it's different classes, but it's usually once a month. But it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I've built like a little can cooler, to like pour water over the coals and stuff like that.
that's
Uh,
cool.
yeah, I haven't done a bottle opener yet. I want to do one of those, but I keep trying to make a leaf. I want to make
Okay,
100 leaves because I was watching Alex Steele. Like I seen a leaf. I went through I used to participate. Well, I used to go up to the Antique Engine Convention every year up in northeastern Ohio, and I'd always go hang out with a blacksmith because I really didn't care about the antique engines, but there was a blacksmith over there. And then one year
yeah,
he made a leaf for me, and I lost the damn thing. I can't find it, so I want to learn how to make it. And this is back when I was like 12, but I want to
yeah.
learn how to make this leaf. And so every time I try to make it, I screw it up. So I watched a video where Alex Steele was saying, "Hey, if you want to get good at blacksmithing, the first thing you should do is make 100 leaves." Because it's
All
going to teach
right.
you so much about the hammer swing and stretching the metal in specific areas and shrinking it, and then the detailing and starting off with a specific amount to get the size and shape and thickness that you want to end up
Yeah.
with. Turns out you always need a lot less metal than you think you're going to need, because I think you can make a leaf out of about an inch long, inch and a quarter long piece of half inch by half inch square, or even
Which
3/8.
sounds like
It
wild,
sounds
doesn't
like
it?
that's not a lot of material to make a leaf, and
No,
all the detail, but that's really all you need. And it's
that's
cheap too,
wild.
so you buy a stick of that for like $10 and, it's a
Yeah,
4-foot stick. You can make 48 leaves out of that.
there we go. Yeah, make a whole tree. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's yeah, that's just like you talking about that. I'm like, yeah, I could. That would be super cool to incorporate some of that. I think it'd be really handy too to be able to have the oven and be able to like heat some of the steel to shape it. Because right now I just cold shape everything and it's can be a pain in the ass,
Using a
a lot of
rosebud?
effort. Yeah. Do I use one? No, I don't. See, I don't even use that. I just like hand
Oh,
hand
geez.
shape all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, you got to get a rosebud up there.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of things, I think it's like you make do with what you have, and then you get a little bit of money and you're like, all right. And then you get like a tool and you're
Time to
like, this
invest.
would have made my life so much easier. But yeah, that's all part of it.
Yeah, it's a learning process. I mean, because you said what, you've
Yeah.
been doing this how many years now? 3-4 years?
The art, yeah. Well, I would say like 3 years ago, but seriously for 2 years.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing some pretty badass stuff for 2 years into it. Like that
Yeah,
headrest
but
got ridiculous amount of detail in it.
thank you. Yeah, I think for me though, it's like the art I've only been doing for a couple years, but I've been welding for 13 years. So it's like that's half the battle is understanding, how the metal works and everything. So and knowing how to weld, I think makes the job a bit easier
Yeah,
for
for sure.
sure.
I'm looking forward to see all the the rest of your journey and the new pieces that you come out with soon.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, it's been good chat. It's cool to, talk to someone who hunts too and, kind of have those same interests.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on the show. I was like, oh yeah, okay, so she does welding. Oh wait, she does archery. Okay, and she does shooting. Like we didn't even touch on that, but I mean, yeah, it was really cool to be able to, you know, jump off the welding train for a little bit and chat about, some different things.
Yeah, I was always like hesitant to like share that side of my life. I mean, I think it's helped me grow my account in a lot of ways, but there's always that risk of scaring off some clients because maybe they're not into hunting or whatever. But I think end of the day, it's like if you're just transparent and you do you, I think people respect that. So
Yeah, that's the best way to do it is be authentic.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Well, Jen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I look forward to following the rest of your journey and everything and seeing how that, especially that monkey, like, I'm big into monkeys. So I want to see how that thing turns out when it's done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, anytime. All right, ladies and gents, thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. Be sure to share it with a friend and leave a review if you're enjoying the content. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Stay safe out there. And until next time, make every weld better than your last.